This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. It's been a while, but I'm joined by Chris Eubank Jr. live and in the flesh from Las Vegas. How are you, Chris? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Very good. Very happy to be to have made it into 2021, and it's going to be a big year.
Very happy to make it into 2021 indeed, and you have a big announcement. You've recently signed with Team Sauerland. Just go right back to the start and tell us how that deal came about.
They came through with an offer at the they were in the right place at the right time, and they gave me an offer I guess I couldn't refuse. I have a very good history with them. Loved the World Boxing Super Series. That was a great setup. The shows were great, and everything went very smooth. So I'm very confident going forward with them that they're going to deliver on the things that they said they're going to deliver on. And yeah, like I said, 2021 is going to be very, very exciting.
Now, you of course were with Al Heyman before then. You boxed James DeGale over here. You boxed Matvey Korobov in your last fight 13 months ago. Is it safe to assume that you're potentially going to be fighting over in Europe now, fighting over in the UK now you've signed with a European promoter?
That is, a very strong possibility that I'll be back in the UK. But then at the same time, there's a lot of the world champions at middleweight are fighting in America. So there's, who's to say that those fights, when they come about, won't happen in the States? I guess that's all up to the promoters and what they agree on. But at the end of the day, I'll fight in the phone booth. It doesn't matter. As long as I'm in with these world title holders, I'm happy.
You mentioned middleweight there. We caught up with Nissa Sauerland yesterday, and Nissa did mention the fact that you'll be campaigning or looking for world titles at middleweight. You of course have boxed as a super middleweight in the past. What's the targets for you? I know Ryota Murata has been a name that's been mentioned. A big fight looming in Japan for somebody if they can get hold of him. Who's top of your hit list at middleweight?
Gennady Golovkin is at the top, for the simple fact that I've been trying to get that fight for years. I know I can beat him. The fight was pretty much made a few years back, and it slipped through my fingers, and that's always bothered me. That's always been a regret of mine. I wouldn't want to finish my career not having fought him. And he has a middleweight world title on top of all of that. So he's number one. Murata, yes, he is now been elevated to super champion in the WBA. I'm WBA Interim world champion, so that fight makes a lot of sense, and that's definitely a fight that hopefully we can get in 2021. There's a lot of big names in the middleweight division, and I'm coming for all of them.
Now, what's the difference between Chris Eubank Jr. as a middleweight and Chris Eubank Jr. as a super middleweight?
Well, Chris Eubank Jr. has never really actually been a super middleweight. I'm having to eat breakfast the day of the weigh-in to make 168. And then I eat for 24 hours straight, and I'm still 168 on the night. And most of these guys, they're putting on 15, 20 pounds. So at middleweight, it's much more natural for me. I have much more of an advantage when it comes to my size. It's just a better fit, and there are huge names out there for me. So there's no reason for me to stay. There was no reason for me to stay at 168. Now, if Canelo becomes available, if that fight is put in front of me at 168, then I'm back up. But until that time, 160 is where I'm going to stay.
What about Billy Joe Saunders at 168?
I mean, that fight it's not even really in my mind. It's been a name that's been thrown about for years, and nothing's ever happened. So it's not really something I'm really even bothered about anymore. And once I become world champion at middleweight, then he has to come down to me. I don't need to go up. So if and when that happens, the fight will probably be at 160.
Now, as I mentioned, we caught up with Nissa Sauerland yesterday. Much has been made. You mentioned the Gennady Golovkin fight, which of course was promoted by Eddie Hearn. Cal Brook eventually went to take that fight. Eddie Hearn has been, he's made no secret of the fact that in his opinion, he felt that Team Eubank, or most namely your father, were difficult to deal with. Now, Nissa yesterday tells a very different story. He says you're very, very easy to deal with. Said he's loved dealing with you in the past in the World Boxing Super Series, Nissa and Kalla. What was it about Nissa and Kalla that you enjoyed working with?
Just, like I said, I have a good track record with them. The World Boxing Super Series went very well. The production value, the fights, the purses, everything was on point. So I'm very confident that moving forward, everything is going to be, the things that they promised, the names that they've promised, they're going to be put in front of me. We're not hard guys to work with. We just we're not yes men. We don't jump when you say jump if there's not a bone to get at the top, which a lot of these guys are doing now. They're just signing on the dotted line without really thinking about what it is they're getting themselves into. And that's what most promoters want. They want guys who are just, yeah, yes sir, no sir. But I don't need to read the contract, just as long as you give me that number, I'll sign. We're not like that. And I advise any of the fighters watching this now to do the same, be smart. Be proactive with the management and the business side of your boxing, because it's a huge thing. It's very important.
How's your dad getting on? It's been a while since I've seen him. I think coming on to a year now since I've seen your dad. How's he getting on?
He's good. I haven't seen him for since my last fight. Yeah, it's been a long time. Obviously, we stay in touch. We're on the phone and texting and that, but I haven't actually seen him in person for over a year. But he's doing well. He's back in England, chilling, and I'm sure I'll see him again within the next few months.
You mentioned your last fight going back 13 months ago, only a round and a half against Matvei Korobov before his shoulder went out. When I put out a post saying that this was a great signing for Team Sauerland this past weekend, one of the main things that came back was a concern about your activity, or your lack of activity, your inactivity. Any concerns for you over that?
Yes, I've been very inactive through no fault of my own. The pandemic has, it crushed boxing for a long period of time. It's just starting to get back on its feet. It was out of my hands. But I've been in the gym, been training. I haven't just been sitting on my ass for a year. I've been improving. I've been learning from one of the greatest fighters of all time. So in that sense, I've been very active. 2021 is going to be different. The Sauerland brothers have offered a lot of things and given me a very strong, active path to take. And I'm sure they can deliver. So I'm sure I'll be back in the ring within the next 2 or 3 months, and then from then on, fighting regularly.
That's kind of what I was going to come on to next. The extra time out of the ring has allowed you to work with Roy Jones Jr., your trainer, as you mentioned, one of the greatest pound-for-pound fighters of all time. How's that been going? What sort of stuff has he had you doing in the gym? What improvements have you been looking to make under him?
The guy's a genius. He's taught me so much over the last year, and that's actually a very short period of time, and I've learned a lot. Some of the stuff is not even learning; it's just reminding you of the things that you're supposed to work on and that you shouldn't be forgetting. He's improved my boxing IQ also very much so. The way I think about boxing, the way I think about what I'm doing in the ring. It would have been great to have met Roy earlier in my career, but better late than never. And he'll be in my corner for the rest of my career, as far as I'm concerned. I never would have met him if it wasn't for COVID. I never would have gone out to Pensacola. I would have stayed in Vegas, would have stayed at Floyd's gym. So in that sense, COVID and the pandemic has been a blessing for my career, even though it's caused me not to be able to fight. I've met a new coach, a new trainer, a new mentor. So I'm very, very excited to just move forward with him and achieve the things I want to achieve with him by my side.
Okay, final quick couple from me, Chris. I do appreciate your time today. We mentioned Canelo Alvarez beforehand. We recently saw him, well, just before Christmas, box another Brit in Callum-Smith. What did you make of the fight, and particularly Canelo Alvarez's performance?
Canelo did what he needed to do. He had a great game plan, and Smith, he swallowed it, in my opinion. He looked like he was in survival mode from round one, which was quite shocking, because he had such a physical advantage in terms of his height and reach. He just didn't use any of it. That's the one thing about Canelo. He can take you. He takes these guys' spirits away from them before the first round, before the first bell even goes. He's already got them beat mentally. And that's one thing that everybody knows about me, is that my mental game, my mental strength is unbreakable. I don't back down. I don't give in. I don't give up. And that's why I believe I can beat him, because he's used to guys just going into the ring and just trying not to get knocked out, which is what Smith did. He was in survival mode. Me, I'm in there and I'm looking to take off heads from round one. It doesn't matter who it is. And that's exactly what it will be when I get into the ring with Canelo Alvarez.
Final one from me, Chris. You mentioned Gennady Golovkin is the one fight that you want, or the number one fight that you want. How does that fight go, and why?
It'll be a great fight. I think I have the style that, out of every fighter on the planet, I think would give him the most trouble. I think my speed, my punch output, and my tenacity would give him serious problems. And I think I will beat him over 12 rounds. There's no one out there. There's no one else out there that fights like me. Everybody else is just looking to survive or, run around him. I'm coming at him. I'm taking it to him. I don't back down.
Okay, Chris Eubank Jr., always a pleasure catching up with you. Good to see you looking so well. Congratulations on a new signing and a great start to 2021. Hopefully catch up with you sometime soon, maybe in Vegas at a card table. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Okay, appreciate it, man.
Cheers, Chris.